what the hell's going on, you guys? It's People Play Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we were right on the screen. I love these little outlines that they do to tell me which one to click on next. We'll just continue the story. Within my heart, I was prepared for something to happen tonight once again. The first year, the workers were stirred into a frenzy, killing and dismembering that old guy. The second year, the Hojo couple were killed through a faked accident. During the dam protest, the only people who were hated by the villagers as their enemies died on the day of the Watanagashi. Innocent people in the village called the incidents the curse of Oyoshiro-sama. I thought now that the dam protests were over, there was a meaning for their criminals to be killed on the night of the festival. If that were true, then there were still some criminals from the dam protest. I thought that perhaps that would happen again on the night of the third year of the festival. My hunch was right. But at first it looked so natural I didn't think it was an incident. The festival was near its end and the village officials were gathered under the main tent. They opened their beers and enjoyed the leftover corn and braised cow tripe from the refreshment stands. I was in the main tent too, being entertained by the villagers. I was actually there at the crime scene of the third year incident when it happened, yet I didn't notice anything about the beginning of the incident. Hey Fude-san, what's the matter? Are you feeling sick? Most of the elderly people in the village were heavy drinkers, but there were a few who weren't. The priest was one of the latter. The priest was a representative of, as well as a host during the Watanagashi festival. Every time the villagers and guests arrived, he greeted them, and each time he was offered a drink, so by the night's end he was pretty much beaten. That's why I didn't think anything of it when I see the priest sitting there by himself in the folding chair. The village leader, Kimiyoshi, was the one to tap his shoulder and ask him if he's okay. Are you okay? You drank too much, didn't you? Huh? Does your chest hurt? Sorry, I think I'm a little tired. Do you have a bad heart? Getting sudden pains isn't a good sign. Dr. Irie. Dr. Irie. What's wrong? Is it your chest? Not good. When I saw him, he was covered in terrible sweat, and he was definitely not relaxing in his chair enjoying the cool evening breeze. The color of his face was horrible, and I thought he should lie down immediately. I should probably take you back to the clinic. Are you okay? Can you hold on my shoulder? Hey, somebody help. The priest doesn't feel too well. What's wrong with my husband? Dear, are you okay? Kano-san. Perfect timing. The priest doesn't feel too well, so I'm going to take him to the clinic. Could you please have the car come around here? Sure, no problem. The priest and his wife headed to the clinic with Dr. Irie. I don't know about young people, but elderly people know their own bodies well. They almost never push themselves to the point where they start feeling sick, especially someone like the priest. It was hard to imagine him drinking himself sick. My cumulative experience over the years was telling me something. I headed to the Irie clinic just in case. I tried to follow the car, but because the festival was almost over and all the stands were closing up, there was a lot of traffic going in and out, making it almost impossible for me to leave the temporary parking lot. More than 20 minutes passed since the priest was carried in by the time I arrived at the clinic. 20 minutes. If it didn't take 20 minutes, my involvement in this year's incident would have been quite different. When I realized how crowded the parking lot was, I should have started to walk. All I could do now was jot down the facts. Because between the time the priest left the festival and the time I arrived at the clinic, during these 20 minutes, this year's curse had taken place. The priest's condition changes for the worse right after he arrives at the clinic. He dies. The autopsy results say it was a heart failure, but how can I accept that? I don't think the priest was having health problems, and everyone was taken by surprise by this sudden event. Moreover, the wife of the priest is gone. According to the clinic staff, she was with him right after the priest died, but she's nowhere to be seen now. Of course, she's not home either. At this point, I thought maybe someone had poisoned the priest. During the dam conflict, the priest was frowned upon for his remarks. He said there was no need for making a big fuss because the dam construction would be canceled anyway. Some of the elderly villagers didn't forget this, and some even say he isn't worthy of the Oyashiro-sama's shrine. At least that's what I heard. I call for backup and have them go searching for the missing wife. Because just like the couple's incident from 2 years ago, it's very possible for both the husband and wife to be victims. The youth group of the village gathered and searched the village to the mountain as a result. We find a set of sandals and a will by the Onagafuchi swamp. The will says something like her husband's death is the curse of Oyashiro-sama and she is throwing herself into the swamp to calm Oyashiro-sama's anger. It suggests she committed suicide by jumping into the swamp. The rumors say that Onagafuchi swamp is a bottomless swamp and you'll be connected to the world of the demons. Once you sink, you'll never come back. Divers from the police searched the swamp, but her body is nowhere to be found. It seems the past 2 mysterious incidents were solved individually, just as the higher-ups than the police would say. But something is odd about this year's mysterious death incident. The ill priest was carried to the clinic. His wife accompanied him. Within 20 minutes, the priest died of heart failure, and the wife either committed a suicide or disappeared. The death of the priest may have really been a fatal heart attack, but for his wife to assume that's the curse and to commit suicide by jumping into a swamp, all for that to happen in 20 minutes, just doesn't seem natural. The Furude family has no relatives. Even if she was a true believer of Oyashiro-sama, how could she commit suicide leaving her one and only daughter? Irie is hiding something too. But Irie is just a village doctor, which means he's nothing more than their pawn. If this is a conspiracy to assassinate the priest, then there is someone who's pulling the strings. I was starting to think that trying to tie the past 2 incidents forcefully to the village was a bit overbearing, but this incident confirms that there is a single purpose grounded in this series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. This incident has countless number of discrepancies, but someone from the village seems to be putting pressure on high command. And just like past incidents, this one will be triggered by an individual case and be forcefully forgotten. Since it happened 3 years in a row, everyone in the village will say it's the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I think that is the purpose of the culprit. After the war, Oyashiro-sama's faith became antiquated. Someone committing these murders as a ritual to regain its dignity? One pulling the strings must be the main Sonozaki family. A few months have passed. Sonozaki Oryu decided that the priest's incidents is part of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as the curse of Oyashiro-sama, after blurting to all that it was obvious that the priest would be cursed. At first, I simply wanted to avenge the old guy. But now, along with that incident, the traces of the village's faith marked by these peculiar cases are beginning to show an abnormal outline. Damn it, that guy's killer is a human. I won't let that be confused with some stupid curse. Okay. And see, I don't blame the Oishi. Like, I feel like that's a valid theory to have, right? It happens 3 years on a row on the same day. Like, I can understand 2 years, right? Like, that makes sense to me. 2 years, great. But as soon as it happens 3 years in a row, right? Like, that's tough to swallow, right? And even if you do say, like, yeah, okay, those were all coincidences that all happened on the same day, in the same place, at the same time. It's so weird. Same day, same place, same time. Tanagashi Festival. Same day, same time. It's just so weird to me. Like, I'm completely with Oishi. I know that he's like fucking up the story a little bit because he's like always suspicious of everything. But I mean, come on. Can you blame the guy? He has the right like detective motive. And no one's telling him anything, and then freaking Sonozaki Oryu is out here claiming everything, making it super hard to tell who's doing what. She's just like, oh, that's me. Yeah, I did that. Which is also kind of disrespectful to the family. Like, oh yeah, of course he deserved to get cursed. But I guess she doesn't care as long as she's like the boss, you know? I don't know. It's a little... There's so many moving parts. The strange medicine that I hardly remember was a capsule. Or maybe it was an oval tablet. It was so red it must have been a capsule. I can't imagine a tablet in that color. It must have been a capsule. I think it was a little bigger than a normal capsule. Can't remember. Although I can hardly remember, if I see that medicine again, that'll refresh my memory. That medicine takes a human life, and it's a human soul, memory, and emotion, and it numbs the human body. There are no thoughts, no interests, no will to stay awake or asleep. There's no sense of time. Sometimes a second can feel like an eternity, and other times I can see almost an hour. I can almost see the hour hand move. Either way, there's no emotion. I can't feel any emotion. The medicine only lets me stay in bed and look up at the ceiling. The only people who have taken it can understand this misery. What's more scary is that while I'm on the medication, I don't realize how scary it is. It's weird, very weird. It's a very weird statement. I'm given the medication daily and I keep losing all my senses. So when the medicine wore off by accident, I realized I shouldn't take the medicine again. That's right. This is not a medicine to heal me. This is to kill me slowly. If I continue to take this medicine, I probably won't be able to tell if I'm dead or alive, or I'll end up losing myself forever. I'll keep looking up at the ceiling without any emotion and keep watching the clock tick forever. If I take that medicine again, I'll lose all senses and I finally regained. I'll never be able to bring myself back again. Since the day I realized it, I've been pretending to take the medicine, but throwing it away. Who am I? If your doctor prescribes you medication, you were to finish it, even if the symptoms are gone. I hear my mother's voice. And any time I went to the doctor's office when I was a child, my mother said that to me. I usually got well before I finished all the medicines, or didn't take any, or finished taking the rest. That's why my mother said the Sotoko? But this is a different type of medicine. I don't even remember how old I was when my mother said that, but with this strange capsule in front of me, I try to get rid of my mother's voice from inside my head. I press down on my head with my It's down on my head with my elbows until it hurts, trying to get rid of what my mother kept telling me. That's right. As my head clears, I start to remember the ugly side of my mother. Mother betrayed her family. She betrayed me and my father, who waited for her at home at dinner table. Rena? She was having an affair. It was bad enough, but she asked my father for a divorce after she took such good care of her after so many years. But there's something else I can't forgive. It's Rena. But there's something else I can't forgive her for. She invited only me to meet her new family. Not my father, just me. My father and I are family. Family means being together. Yet my mother tried to destroy the bond between my father and me. Not only had she destroyed her bond with him, she tried to destroy my bond with him too. When I remember, it makes me feel angry and hateful, and I can't forgive her. The back of my eyes start to hurt, and I can feel there's such hatred on my face. My overflowing hatred is aiming not only my mother, but also the man she had an affair with. The man she had an affair with, Uncle Akihito. I didn't like him teasing me, but he gave me an allowance all the time and tried to have fun with me. I liked him very much, but his niceness was all calculated. He wanted to destroy the family bonds between my mother, my father, and me. That's why I shouldn't have said I liked him very much. That's right. I'm starting to remember and understand. I know my true enemy. It was his fault my mother started to have an affair. Because my mother was a very good mother. He was the one who made her a bad mother. So he was the one to be blamed. When was the first time I met him? To think it was the time when my mother and I went out and had lunch at the restaurant. She introduced him as one of her colleagues at work. At that time, if I think about that first meeting, I think I felt something that wasn't right with the way my mother acted around him. That's right, I did. I did think something was wrong. It didn't feel right. I wish I trusted my instinct back then. I was a fool to think he was a nice person just because he gave me a strawberry on his piece of cake. It was not my father's fault. Because I bet he never met Uncle Akihito. But I have. I've met him many times, and there were a lot of chances to realize he was my enemy. If I had a strong enough will to protect my happiness, I could have noticed him as my enemy. I can't forget my father on that day. My father, who was so nice and gentle, grabbed his knees so tightly and cried so hard on that day. He asked me if I knew Uncle Akihito. I answered yes. Then he slapped my face. When he slapped me, I finally realized how stupid I was for being taken in by him. That's right. It was my fault. I destroyed the happiness I hoped to last forever with my own hands. If I hadn't been that stupid, my father wouldn't have tried to cry like that, and my mother would have stayed being a good mother. I wasn't that stupid. It was my fault. I can't forgive my mother and Uncle Akihito. Even when I hate him this much, I still call him Uncle, and I can't forgive myself for that. It was my fault. Everything was my fault. I was too stupid, and that's why this happened. I felt the hatred, the sadness, but I couldn't calm my anger. If my mother ever came back to this house, I would rip her apart with my hands. Jesus. She never came back. My anger turns towards everything that my mother left in the house. I destroyed everything my mother left in the house, one after another. I threw and smashed everything. But that still didn't calm my anger. Even after I turned the whole house upside down, I still couldn't calm it. Where does my anger gather? It starts from inside me, goes through my arms, into my fingertips, and spurts from my nails. Where else can it go? Then my nails aim at my own body. I feel that my own body is the filthiest and most disgusting. I am the one to be blamed. No, I didn't do anything wrong. My mother is the one to be blamed. My body and soul feel filthy. I want to rip myself apart into pieces. And one day I finally realized there are tons of maggots in my blood. I am rotten. That's like the worst. That's like the worst. I hate the maggots in the blood. Just because it gets in my head, right? So then I'm like, maggots in blood, that's disgusting. Ugh, I won't think about that again. And then I'll be at work and I'll like look at my veins and I'll see like my vein move because obviously there's stuff flowing through it. And then I'll be like, oh, there's a maggot. And then I get this immediate cringe feeling. Sorry, story time. I don't know. That's, I can't stand that. I'm rotten on the inside. Come on, rot more. So itchy, itchy, itchy. Ugh. She takes a razor. The blood flows out. Reddish black maggots all spill out. I force myself to open the blood vessels with my thumbs. Oh my god, please. Why is that the thing that... Like, I can look at, like, the worst imagery, right? Like, you should see some of the stuff that I've seen before, but for some reason when it's described to me with words, it's like the worst. Is that true for anybody else? Because I feel like I've looked at some of the worst shit, and I've just been like, yeah, that's a picture. But, like, as soon as it's like, and there was maggots, and I burst open my blood vessels with my thumbs, it's just like, no, stop. So many maggots spill from my left thigh. The right thigh must have the same amount of maggots in its bloodstream, too. Maybe my calves, too. My arms, abdomen, chest. No. How many maggots are there in the bloodstreams of my neck? Strangely, I am becoming rather insane. There's still a part of me that is calm. I keep ripping myself like this, I'll end up dead. But everything is my fault and I'm the one to be blamed. Even if I want to blame my mother, I only have myself to take it out on. I see. This is the only way to calm my anger. I am thinking very calmly. If I were to forgive myself, then I needed someone else to blame. It's someone else's fault. But there's nobody else. No matter how hard I try to think, this is the only way to vent my anger. As long as there's nobody else to blame, I have to keep opening my blood vessels. Just like no matter how much I scratch it, it still itches, no matter how much I rip my own body. Like, I've gotten the worst cuts and bruises. Oh, but you describe it to me, and it just shivers. The blood everywhere in the bathroom, and I'm sure it's like a gruesome scene. Although I try to be calm, I can't ignore the sharp pain that runs through my body. Maybe because I've lost so much blood, or maybe because I'm naked in the cold bathroom, I feel freezing cold. My whole body throbs, and my heart is beating so fast. I am cold and hot at the same time. I'm also sad and angry and in pain. I want to find something so I can forgive myself. Oishiro-sama. Then, it came, in a heavenly light. It was so mysterious and unreal. It was so, like, something so out of this world. It apologized. It kept apologizing. Why is it apologizing? Apologize when you're at fault? It accepted it's at fault. That means I'm not at fault. It is at fault, not me. Ah. I drop the razor blade. Falls in the puddle of blood. The pain is taking over my body. Pain of ripping my own body takes over me. I'm telling myself this pain is the punishment for what I've done. But I'm not at fault. It is. So I don't need to accept this pain as the punishment. So I don't need to do this anymore. She keeps apologizing to me all while I'm all bloody. Every time I want to blame myself, she keeps whispering to me. There is Oyashiro-sama. He is always following me. Slap, slap, slap. And every time I can't endure the guilt, she apologizes and tells me I'm not at fault. Aww. So in this case, it worked. Because she just apologizes randomly to people that are doing bad things, but it never like works like it did on Rena. Everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Things started to go wrong when I broke the rule I wasn't supposed to leave Hinamizawa. I finally remember. When I moved from Hinamizawa, one of my neighbors gave me a charm. She said, if I leave Hinamizawa, there'll be a curse of Oyashiro-sama, so to take this charm. That's right, she gave me the charm. It had some complicated writing on it, but I haven't seen it since I moved here. I may have lost it. Nothing I can do about it. Hinamizawa residents leave Hinamizawa, there'll be a curse. My mother and I, even Uncle Akihito too, may have gone insane because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody was at fault at the beginning, because everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody is at fault. Nobody. I am finally able to forgive everything. The anger that I couldn't get rid of even after I destroyed everything, including my body and soul, is finally gone. Father, now I know. The curse of Oyashiro-sama caused Mother to leave and for you to be so sad. You remember Oyashiro-sama, don't you? The guardian deity of Hinamizawa? That's right. People of Hinamizawa aren't supposed to go out to the outside world. That's why my mother became insane. This was all because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. If we had stayed in Hinamizawa, we would have been happy. Oyashiro-sama came to me and told me that. Come to think of it, Oyashiro-sama has been trying to tell me for a long time. After my mother left, I didn't know why she left or how to express my anger. Oyashiro-sama kept following me since then to let me know that. She followed me everywhere, the sound of her footsteps echoing behind me, but I pretended I didn't notice her. I was stupid. I didn't hear her voice until I slashed my body all over. If I had only listened to Oyashiro-sama's voice. I bet she was warning me once Uncle Akihito came to my life. My whole family had gone back to Hinamizawa and my mother wouldn't have had an affair. We would have been happy in Hinamizawa. I bet Oyashiro-sama has been trying to tell me that. That's right. She must have been trying to warn me since she left Hinamizawa. She was always with me. She followed me everywhere. I was stupid trying to pretend I didn't notice. Everything was because of my stupidity. If I had noticed Oyashiro-sama's voice, my family wouldn't have suffered from the curse. It's all my fault. Oyashiro-sama is apologizing. She keeps apologizing that this is all her fault. So this isn't my fault, is it? Because this is the curse of Oyashiro-sama, right? He's apologizing. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Oyashiro-sama is apologizing repeatedly. But I'm sorry too. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Sorry that I didn't hear your voice. Sorry, sorry. We are from Hinamizawa, so we have to keep hearing your voice. Oyashiro-sama exists. Yes, yes, yes. Don't you hear, Father? Don't you see? Oyashiro-sama's right there apologizing. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I'm sorry too. Come on, Father, let's apologize too. Mother, you don't have to apologize. You should die because of the curse. I hate you, Mother. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I hate myself for being your daughter. Jesus, these maggots are all your fault. They make me itch all over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry, sorry. No, no, I don't want that medicine. My mother got it to kill me, so I don't want it. I won't take it. I told you, I don't want it. I don't want to take it. Stop, stop. This is a curse. It's not curable with a medicine. We won't get rid of the maggots because this is a curse. I don't want to get the shot either. Stop, stop. It hurts, it hurts. Everything is falling into a gray world. The voices of my father and the doctor sound so far away. Even what just happened seems like it happened a long time ago. Again, I'm given the capsule, and even the memory from the minute ago is gone. I'm back in my bed staring at the ceiling. From what I can see, the only thing that interests me is the hands on the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I follow the minute hand as it goes around quickly, and the hour hand as it goes around slowly. I see other things too, but they just keep repeating the same movement, just like the hands on the clock. Sorry, sorry. It's my fault. Sorry. Oyashiro-sama keeps apologizing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Sorry. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Sorry, sorry. It keeps repeating. The chorus of the Higurashi coming in from the window during the night seems louder than usual. Are they gonna pull in the Higurashi? Are they gonna be like? Are they gonna fucking pull in the Higurashi like they've been like? I can see them doing it because they've mentioned the Higurashi a bunch. So there's a total possibility where they're like, oh yeah, the Higurashi are really important. They signify that you're in this state. Do we not have the thing cracked that we need to have cracked? I don't think we do, because this is number 6. So we're now back in free roam territory where we don't know where we're supposed to go, which is fine. Rika's high fever is required. I mean, we can click on it and see. Yep. I mean, all it's going to do is crack if we don't get it right? Takana-san always comes along with me whenever I come for a photo shoot stroll. He thinks I found joy with cameras, and I'm happy to gain a friend who shares the same hobby. However, there's actually something else she is more interested in. That is to look up the old history of Hinamizawa. She goes to local libraries and archives to read through various literatures. She has actually become quite the historian of Hinamizawa. When she's in a good mood, she tells me about things like Hinamizawa used to be called Onagafuchi Village, and the villagers used to perform vicious, cruel ceremonies on the belief of Oyashiro-sama. You must like touchy stories like this, and actually that makes her more mysterious. On the other hand, I don't do well with grotesque stories, so I can hardly respond to her. Stories of cruel ceremonies that she gets excited about, I don't really get them at all. However, her eyes get so sparkly when she talks about that, so I don't mind spending time with her even when she talks about the cruel things like that. You sure like looking into those things, don't you? Sure, it's fun. It's so exciting to unravel a hidden dark past that's been sealed away. Don't you think so? Kana-san smiles as she talks, which makes me think of a hidden dark past is something fun, but of course it isn't. The hidden dark past of Hinamizawa she likes to look into is something so cruel and atrocious, just like witch hunts from the Middle Ages. Besides, they help me when I research the Hinamizawa syndrome. you don't have to always look through microscopes and research things. Sometimes the tradition of the village that has spent a long time together with this parasite can teach us things far more valuable. That's true. Boy, you are such a passionate researcher. Because researching is my life's work. To step into an unknown mystery and exposing a secret that nobody knows about, don't you think that's wonderful? I'm guessing that's think. It tickles my intellectual curiosity. That's probably the greatest entertainment available to only humans who can feel joy from thinking. The first person to work on this research, Dr. Takano, must have discovered something fascinating enough to make him devote his entire life to the research of the Hinamizawa syndrome too. I think I'm the only one who can really understand his feelings. Since you are not a researcher, is this too much to understand? She's always so enthusiastic every time she talks about the late Dr. Takano, an independent researcher who was the first person to discover the existence of Hinamizawa syndrome. I think there is something more than just admiration as a researcher. I noticed something now. The late Dr. Takano's full name is Takano Hifumi, and Takano-san's full name is Takano Mio. Although they use different characters, their names both sound like Takano. What the fuck? And the first names are Hifumi 1 2 3 and Mio 3 4. Oh, so it's like that. Is that how you count Japanese? Mi fu mi or hi fu mi? Mio? I don't think so. But that would be really dope. That would be really cool. But I don't. Is that true? I sense a mysterious connection between them. I don't know anything about the personal side of Dr. Takano-san, but there's a good possibility her name, Takano, is an alias. It was possible she chose the name of the researcher she admires. Well, her name was Mio at the start, right? Is that why your name is Mio? What? Well, the name of the researcher you admire is Takano Hifumi, right? And your name is Mio? 1, 2, 3, and 3 and 4? You were continuing the research you wasn't able to complete, so I thought that's maybe why you have that name. Who told you that? Huh? No, I just thought of that just now. I didn't hear from anybody. You're right. I'm impressed, Jiro-san. I know you admire Dr. Takano, and sometimes you spoke as if you were his daughter or granddaughter who inherited the research legitimately. That's why I said that. Even book authors like Edogawa Rampo and have pen names as a homage towards the authors they admire as well. So I thought your name is like the pen name, you know? No, that's not so. Takano Mio is my real name. Over my real last name uses a different character though. Your last name is exactly the same as Dr. Takano? Oh my goodness. And Mio is your real name too? Takano Mio continues the research of Takano Hifumi. What a fateful coincidence. You're overstating, Jiro-san. This isn't fate of any kind. He's my grandfather. This is news to me. I heard Takano-san discovered the documents about the Hinamizawa syndrome left by Dr. Takano after his death and continued the research. I never heard of them being related. Someone told me it'll leave a bad impression if I ask for funds to continue my grandfather's research because people may think I'm trying to pull funds to help my family matter. That's why I changed one of the characters in my last name. So other than Koizumi-sensei, you were the first person I told this to. I see. I didn't know. So that's the reason why you're so passionate about the Hinamizawa syndrome research. Now I understand very clearly. She succeeded the research of her grandfather wasn't able to complete. Her grandfather also searched the Hinamizawa syndrome not only from a medical point of view, but from old documents and literatures as well. Looking through the literatures of a village that has been living with the Hinamizawa syndrome for hundreds of years can be far more valuable than looking through microscopes of 100 times the magnification. My grandfather taught me that. I see. I'm sure your grandfather is so happy that you are succeeding in his research you couldn't complete. I bet he's so proud of you. I hope so. I said something about Takano-san would normally tease me about, but she didn't. She nods and smiles. There's no mistake. She is indeed a granddaughter of Dr. Takano. My grandfather's Hifumi, which means 1, 2, 3, and I'm Mio, which means 3, 4. Following after my grandfather, we have only counted the 3 together, and counted the 4 after my grandfather. We must reach 5 that neither me nor my grandfather has seen yet. That is my duty and the reason I was born. So that's why you're Mio, huh? I think it's a beautiful name. Thank you. But please keep the granddaughter issue to yourself. My clients don't know it, and I don't want unnecessary problems from them knowing about it. Sure, okay. This is a secret between you and me, huh? Although it's a small secret, it makes me feel good that I'm the only one who knows about this. I've only counted to 3. I haven't even reached 4 yet. The path of this research is long and rough, but I will do it. I will expose the secret of the Hinamizawa syndrome. I'll support you. That's my job in the first place, huh? You would have sounded so cool if you didn't say extra things like that. You only need to say you'll support me, you know? Okay, I'll support you. It's too late. You're not cool if you can't get it right the first time. We laughed cheerfully together. After we finished laughing, she becomes serious, as if to drive the point home. So remember, Jiro-san, don't tell anybody that I'm his granddaughter, okay? Okay, I promise. Not a bad thing, but I don't want to change the clients, or I don't want the clients to cut the funding because of that. I don't think they will. Besides, I won't tell a soul. Are you sure? Are you really, really sure? I received my life for this research. My mission is to complete my grandfather's research. To prove that the trampled research is actually something amazing that will shock the world and make everyone praise my grandfather who was perishing away under the earth, eventually having him ascend as a god. Those are the reasons and the purposes of my life. Jiro-san, if you say something to interfere and create problems for the research, don't worry. I'll forget everything you told me here. Really, I mean it. I won't say anything. I promise. I won't say anything. Are you sure, Jiro-san? Jesus. I feel like at that point it's like, whoa, hold on. Like if my friend was like, here's the secret, and then he was like, don't tell anybody. All right. No, seriously, don't tell anybody. Okay. Don't tell anybody. Like I swear, please don't tell anybody. All right, dude, I won't tell anybody. Jesus. All right, but are you sure you're not going to tell anybody? At that point, I'm telling somebody. Because there's too many, too many, get out of there. Right now. He said he's not going to. Or that he'd get completely possessed by it, so I swear to keep the promise. Her intellectual curiosity as a researcher that will continue to complete her grandfather's research or stirring her passion for the research of the Hinamizawa syndrome. But I think there's one more reason that's stirring her. It's far too deep, and it's within like a wound in her heart that someone like me shouldn't touch. But earlier, she said, if I create problems for the research. Wonder what she wanted to say after that. I can't help but thinking she wanted to say something frightening and merciless. I keep my promise to her, and we never talk about this issue ever again after this day. Ooh, that's an interesting place to stop. We could probably go one more, but it would be an hour, depending on how long it is. And you never know with these things. I feel like we ended here. I mean, interesting. We still have a ways to go a little bit. I mean, it's not many more episodes, but it's more episodes. I gotta think. I gotta have like a solid upload schedule for this. And I always like get into a groove and then I stop. And I get into a groove and then I stop because stuff happens. So eventually we'll beat this game. I probably made a promise way at the beginning and in the middle and even towards the end. I will finish this game. This is the longest visual novel I've ever played, which is crazy. Like the longest visual novel I played before this was Steins Gate, and that was like 60 hours. I feel like this game has been like, man, I don't even know. I'd have to look at all my times. I think like 20 hours each episode, usually around. Maybe even more. For some of them were shorter than others. Like the Rika one was really short, the Rika arc. Anyway, I'm curious what happens to Satoshi. We're moving along. Like I think we've done most of them on page 3. We've done most of them on page 2. We'll probably do this one. I don't know if we can do that one actually. A bad beat her to death. This one you can't do. But yeah, probably not. That's probably goes with the one on page 2. That's good. I don't know. I can't imagine that they throw me any more curveballs, right? This is just kind of like ending the story and seeing how they end it. The curveball will be Satoshi and where he's, or what he's doing with his life. I feel like. And then I don't know quite how they're gonna deal with Rika, because everybody is like starting out crazy, you know. There's like a certain like for example, Ren is crazy, Takano's going crazy. I feel like Irie is genuinely a good person. He just wants to help. And he's like a bystander in this whole situation. Takana's like the villain person, obviously. And it seemed like she was back, like as soon as she got out of the car and Jiro wasn't there and his bike was in like the back seat way back in that one chapter, I was like, okay, we found an evil person. But I didn't think anything of it because Keiichi was going crazy. So I kind of like chalked it up to like, oh, Keiichi's going crazy. Maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, I mean, they did a good job of hiding her from being the villain. I think a lot of it is like sleight of hand and magic. You know what I'm talking about? Like street magic. You know, like they get you to. They talk about certain characters so much. And they just don't talk about other characters because they're side characters, right? Who cares about them? But really, they made use of the side characters by saying, oh yeah, you know the side character that hasn't said much or we haven't talked about too much? That's the person that we're going to go. So they focused a lot on the demon-like qualities of Sonosaki family. Oyashiro-sama, Oishi, Rena, you know, all these like crazy, you know, Keiichi himself. Rika even was an enemy in Shion's story, or Shion quotes story. Shion Mion situation is so weird because Shion is actually Mion in actual sense, right? Am I wrong in saying that? Shion is actually Mion. It's just in that one story it was revealed that they switched. So Shion is actually Mion every time, no matter what. But they switched. So for all intents and purposes, Mion is Shion, and Shion is Mion. Or Shion is Shion and Mion is Mion because they're known as that. And the only difference is how they're treated. Well, and one has a dragon or a demon tattoo, dragon tattoo. I don't know. There's a lot to think about. Well, and then Rika knows about a lot of this going forward. It's confusing to me when the loop started, because Rika didn't always know, like when the first time the loop happened. Did they know it was gonna happen? No, Yoshiro-sama save Rika from death? Is that what was going on? And like, if she has the power to, I don't know. There's so much stuff. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys going on this with me. I will upload the next one as soon as I can, but I'm also going to try to record some other stuff as well, so that way and that other stuff. I always say that I'm going to do that, but I'm going to this time. And I'll see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. Peace out, guys.